Hi, today I want to focus on a man named Haman. He is found in the book of Esther. And Haman hated the Jews. His hatred for Jews was so much that he wanted to kill Mordecai. And Mordecai was a Jewish man. He was related to Esther, who had recently become a queen in the palace. And Haman was plotting with his advisors, which included his wife, to kill Mordecai. So let's read the advice that he get from his friends and from his wife to get rid of of Mordecai. It's found in Esther 5 verse 14. It says, "Then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, 'Let a gallows be made, 50 cubits high, and in the morning suggest to the king that Mordecai be hanged on it. Then go merrily with the king to the banquet.' And the thing pleased Haman, so he had the gallows made." So his wife and his friends said, "You can get rid of that Jew if you only make this gallows and then suggest to the king that he be hanged." Okay. And in chapter 6, that night the king could not sleep. So one was commanded to bring the book of the records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs, the doorkeepers who had sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. Then the king said, "What honor or dignity has been bestowed on Mordecai for this?" This is now the king finding out that Mordecai, the Jew, saved his life. And because Mordecai did this, saved the life of the king, Haman was not happy, so he wanted to kill Mordecai. But at this time, Haman doesn't know that the king is finding out this information. This is how God deals with those who come against you. He said that vengeance is his. So let's read. So the king said, who is in the court?" Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace to suggest that the king hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. So here's Haman coming to the king. He doesn't know that the king had already read the Chronicles, how Mordecai saved his life. The king's servant said to him, "Haman is there, standing in the court." And the king said, "Let him come in." So Haman came in, and the king asked him, "What shall be done for the man whom the king delights to honor?" Also now Haman thought in his heart, "Whom will the king delight to honor more than me?" You see, this is Haman full of himself. And he's thinking at this point, there is no one worthy in this entire kingdom for the king to honor apart from me. Let's read. Now Haman thought and Haman answered the king, "For the man whom the king delights to honor, let a royal robe be brought which the king has worn, and a horse on which the king has ridden, which has a royal crest placed on its head. Then let this robe and horse be delivered to the hand of the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that he may array the man whom the king delights to honor. Then parade him on horseback through the city square and proclaim before him, 'Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honor. Then the king said to Haman, hurry, take the robe and the horse, as you have suggested, and do so for Mordecai, the Jew who sits within the king's gate. Leave nothing undone of all that you have spoken. Can you imagine the horror and the shock of of Haman when the king is saying, actually, it's you who is going to be parading that Jew Mordecai all over the city and saying exactly what you have suggested that it should be done to the man whom the king is supposed to honor. This is how God will deal with your enemies. So Haman left this place in shame, in deep shame. He thought that all this was for him. And he find out the Jew that I hate that much is the one who's being crowned at this point. What's going on? So it ended up that Haman had gallows prepared for the death of Mordecai. In Esther 7, let's read what happened to Haman after his evil doing has been found. This time I will read from verse 8. When the king returned from the palace garden to the place of the banquet of wine, Haman had fallen across the couch where Esther was. Then the king said, will he also assault the queen while I am in the house? As the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Now Habona, one of the eunuchs, said to the king, look, the gallows, 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke good on the king's behalf, is standing at the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him on it. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's wrath subsided. Isn't this just like God's vindication to those who come against you and me? He wants to get rid of Haman the Jew and made the gallows as per the advice that he received from his wife and his friends. But at the end, guess who hung on those gallows? Haman himself. God will deal with your enemies. We have seen this also in the book of Daniel. They lied on Daniel. They slandered Daniel. They made all sorts of laws to ensnare Daniel. Daniel was thrown in the lion's den. But God, what the enemy meant for evil, he turned it good for Daniel. And at the end, it was Daniel's accusers who was thrown in the lion's den and were eaten by the very lions that they wanted for them to eat Daniel. Learn to trust in God when it comes to evildoers. My duty and your duty is not to go against people. My duty and your duty is to pray. Bring it to Yahweh and say, Yahweh, you say that vindication is yours. This is the situation. I demand justice in the name of Yeshua. Okay, friend, stay blessed today and be blessed. Shalom.